if a visionary is actually shrinking themselves, they are somewhere misaligned in their purpose. With being a visionary comes certain qualities that will require you to lead and that will require you to have confidence. Anytime someone is stepping down on who they are or lowering their standards, there's a misalignment on the inside of them. It's all about first connecting with that inner voice. And when you can connect with that inner voice will expose divine truths. And with those truths will come principles that will guide you to who you're truly supposed to be. And part of that is stepping into the fullness of who you are.
Hello, Taryn. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
So nice to be here, Elijah. Thank you so much for allowing me. And I'm doing well. It's a little bit rainy in the city that I'm in, but I love the rain, so it's no complaints over here.
Beautiful. And thank you so very much for being here. You say, I truly appreciate you. And you say, Taryn, yeah, Taryn, oftentimes I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So firstly, Taryn, I want to say thank you so very much, yeah, for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invested in yourself. And oftentimes, Darren, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. Say some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Darren, there was this very tall and attractive mango tree. And I used the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves are all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Taryn, just recently I was on that same road. And this time around, lots change
It's a
about the
beautiful
mango
mango.
tree. You see, I tell you, you got it right. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance. And immediately I got the urge to move so close to it. Oh boy, of which I did, and it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches, and not just mangoes now, Darren. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a beautiful
Oh,
experience
wow.
that day, and I was so, so excited. Here's my point.
Yes.
The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Taryn that you are today, that alone has made it impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request from me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, your philosophies, your insight, the impact your work is having, and how you are offering your solutions, Darren. This stuff's so beautiful. And just before I sent you that request, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Darren is doing. And not only me now, because I don't want to look selfish, and even with the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Taryn. So thank you so very much for doing that to yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if Taryn had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much, Taryn.
Well, again, it's an honor to be here. I appreciate it.
Beautiful. And thank you once again. So let's get started.
Yes.
You see, Taryn, I am quite excited to have you on the show today for some reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Taryn, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge alone, but the application of it. And you see, Taryn, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness, ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking. Why? Because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the incredible Taryn on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, Taryn, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got lots of informations flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, Darren, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, Darren, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Taryn got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Taryn, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Elijah. So, just a little bit of background about me is I started my journey in business in 2004. And when I first got started, I asked my dad, who had been in real estate, would he be able to join me? Now, I wasn't trying to do real estate, but I knew that if I had the safety of my dad on my journey, it would make it more fulfilling. And, you talked about having knowledge. I saw my dad as a wellspring of wisdom. Wisdom is above knowledge. And I knew that I can apply the wisdom of his life experiences on my journey. And so I did. My journey has lasted 21 years now, and I've crossed multiple domains. I've been in business for 21 years now, and I've crossed multiple domains. And part of my journey has been about being self-aware, blossoming in my own self-awareness. And just like you said, you love knowledge. And I've always been a student of life, a life student. I think I take out the both of my parents. They are avid researchers. They are avid studiers. And there's a term called autodidact. And that's when you're to pick up skills by yourself. I spend a lot of time alone just to read and understand and learn things, learn skill sets, and that has been one of the best assets for me on my journey. And part of what I've realized is that having faith has been an anchor for me throughout, my journey, because you have to have a solid foundation that you can anchor in when, society gets the best of you. So that's pretty much my journey in a nutshell.
Amazing. And I love the fact that you are dedicated to seeking knowledge and applying it. The part where you mentioned that wisdom is above knowledge, that's a beautiful truth. And I got that. So I've got
Yep.
some questions here, Taryn. Are you ready for me?
Yes, definitely.
All right, let's do it. So let us talk about visionaries, okay? So why do visionaries shrink themselves? Why do they shrink themselves?
I think if a visionary is actually shrinking themselves, they are somewhere misaligned in their purpose. With being a visionary comes certain qualities, that will require you to lead, and, that will require you to have confidence. Anytime someone is stepping down on who they are or lowering their standards, there's a misalignment on the inside of them. And, it's all about first connecting with that inner voice. And when you can connect with that inner voice will expose divine truths. And with those truths will come principles that will guide you to who you're truly supposed to be. And part of that is stepping into the fullness of who you are. If you are a visionary, you are supposed to walk in full bloom. Part of my growing up is people would try to put me in boxes that made them feel comfortable. And thankfully, I had a dad that was able to tell me it doesn't matter how, they may feel. You have this talent, you have that talent. You're able to be a musician, you're able to, speak, you're able to teach, you're able to do certain things. And, part of my confidence was because I had someone to counterbalance people that were speaking in my ear that were working against who I was as a visionary until I was able to completely stand on my own. But um, it takes being consistent and speaking life back into yourself so that you won't, step down to who you are.
Amazing. That was beautifully answered. And the part I held the most is they shrink because of misalignment with their purpose. And that's so true. So while you were talking about your dad, you used the word "had." Did you lose your dad?
Yes, I lost my dad 2 years ago, and
So
it
sorry.
has actually, yeah, thank you. Losing that anchor, that one person that I had to really give me unconditional love is part of the awakening of my next level. And it's part of that loss and that grief has helped me, step into another dimension of who I am. We talk about you've been talking about knowledge and wisdom and a lot of the teachings that I was able to get from him. Well, now I don't have him and I have to apply those teachings. And this next level of my life has been about really tapping into the greatest strengths that are inside of me. I can get stuck in grief. I can lay down and want to die, but I choose to live and I choose not to allow that pain to be wasted.
I chose to leave. I got that. So, what about your business partner? Can you talk to us about that? Did you lose your business partner too?
Well, my dad was my business partner. He was my
Oh,
business
wow.
partner for 19 years. Yeah, he was the one person that I did everything with. He was the one person that read every
Amazing.
document with me. He was the one person that, if I was writing something, he would edit. If I was called to speak and I said, "Hey, I want to go over the speech," he was the one person that would listen to my speeches. He was the one person that I had as a consistent anchor, in every facet of business. And, to lose that person after 20 years, it has definitely been different. It has definitely been a different living experience now. But again, I choose to walk in fulfillment. I choose to, you know, walk in wholeness. I choose to walk in healing. I'm still on my healing journey and I had to take my healing by the hand because when I was, you know, feeling despondent, I felt myself going into a depression. He would have been the one to rescue me out of that. But now I don't have him. And so I said I had to take my healing by the hand. I had to be my own savior and find ways to push past the worst tragedy that has ever happened in my life. And it's still there's still healing parts that needs to be happen within inside of me, but I realize that I'm becoming the fulfillment of what my dad protected. He always protected my purpose and he always protected
Hmm,
my destiny. And I'm walking in the fulfillment of that now. He was a best
amazing.
friend to my mom. I can't you can't get any better than someone being a best friend to your mind, and so with that, I take on this mantle of moving forward and the overflow of wisdom that I have from him, I'm able to not only maintain his legacy, but also leave an impact and pour into other people's. My life is just simply an overflow of knowledge and wisdom.
Amazing. I tell you, you had a great dad, and your story is
Yeah, I
very
did.
powerful. Yeah, and also inspiring because I believe there might be some folks listening right now who are currently stuck in that situation you came out of. And they might be
Yeah.
hiding. They don't want to do anything. It's over. It's gone. The only one person that guides me, that I rely completely on, is gone. Getting to listen to your story now, Taryn, I believe they would feel inspired to want to move on and choose fulfillment just like you did. Thank you so very much
I
for
hope
sharing
so.
that. Yeah.
Yes. So actually, after my dad passed, I had to find God for myself. I had to find, an anchor because over the years, I lost my faith. I didn't want really to talk about God because I felt God was failing me in a lot of the businesses, and a lot of the deals that I was seeking. It was becoming really, really hard. And when my dad, I kind of like leaned on him because I knew he had faith. And, his faith gave him peace. his faith gave him an anchor to hold on despite circumstances, and he would tell me, "You will find God again in your life." And when he died, I said I needed to find a way to not talk to God, but connect with my dad. That's kind of where I was. And but I couldn't connect with my dad unless I connected spiritually. I had to find a spiritual frequency to be able to even continue to tap into my dad. And one of the things is that I always knew my dad doesn't have a higher position over God. And so, in order to acknowledge my dad's presence, I will have to acknowledge God's presence. And that began the new journey, that I began to walk into. And it kind of opened me up to a different spiritual awakening. And with that, I wanted to create a framework that will not only heal myself, but allow people to understand their own spiritual authority, their own inner voice, their own inner alignment. And I was saying to myself, if there are 12 specific principles that we can walk through or that we can hold on to, what would those principles be? And so that became the 12 divine truths, the 12 divine alignments framework for people to hold on to and be able to lead with clarity and, you know, basically tap into their own inner framework. And a lot of people are not only just misaligned, but they're missing their identity. They have to have a reshaping of their identity. When my dad died, my inner world collapsed. And so I had to rebuild that inner world. And part of that was through these 12 divine truths.
How do you help people merge legacy, leadership, and purpose?
Well, I feel like, first legacy, a lot of people think that legacy is what you leave behind in terms of, property or, you know, I left a big brand name, but it's actually what you leave inside of people. And so when you merge what you're leaving inside of people, what you have in terms of your own leadership ability and that purpose, then you're ultimately, the way that I say it is that, this approach aligns people in action and it aligns people with the gift of clarity and it aligns people with their highest purpose. And I believe that that is the way that I help people merge all the three is to take consistent steps with what you're leaving inside of people, along with what you're leaving behind, because branding is part of that legacy. A good name, part of my legacy, part of my dad's legacy is me speaking the excellent qualities that he left behind. And so you want to leave that impact. I teach to not only leave that impact, but also lead in life. Some people, not everybody is going to be the visionary that's going to open up a Fortune 500 company, but you can lead in your household. You can be the man that you need to be for your family. If you are a single woman, you can lead, you know, in your own inner alignment with your purpose. And so combining these things is making sure that people have.
Exactly. Because everyone on earth was sent here to come fulfill a particular purpose. And legacy ain't really about material things, but what you leave inside people. It's not about the monument,
Meaningful impact.
the other impact you have on people. See, legacy is not
Definitely.
about building monument, but building people. What advice do you have for someone who feels stuck?
So, our highest authority is our voice. If you are feeling stuck, first you need to make an assessment of what are you speaking inside of yourself? And then also who is speaking to you? Who is advising you? You know, Part of that stuckness may be you saying yes to things that you may not necessarily need to say yes to, but need to be saying no to. It's about making an assessment. When we are in business, if you know anything about marketing, part of marketing is let's do A and B testing. It's a quick way to see what's working and what's not working. Part of making sure that we're not stuck, even when we're trying to move our company forward, is, making sure we have a feedback loop. And so we go out and do surveys. We ask people to give us reviews, And so, even in terms of your own personal life, if you're feeling stuck, you need to have this feedback loop within yourself. Ask these questions, to get down to the root of where you are stuck. It could be something as simple as, the mismanagement of your time. You can go out and buy an organizer or a planner. These are practical steps to get you unstuck and moving forward, having some sort of momentum. So again, I would say if you are stuck and you want to get unstuck,
I got that. So to bring this to an end, Taryn, for folks who would like to reach out to you, learn more about the wonderful stuff you're doing, or they require services or, advice or even ask you questions, how can that be possible?
so definitely if you are interested in coming into the movement of what we have a clarion call that we speak into our lives every day, and it is speak, build, and believe. And if you want to be part of that movement of speaking life into yourself, building your purpose and believing, experiencing the harvest of what you're stepping into, you can definitely reach me at Taryn'sBusinessHub.com. That's TARYNS. And that's business, BUSINESS Hub, HUB, Taryn'sBusinessHub.com. You can purchase my book while you're there. That's Intentional Progress. Get unstuck and start your business now. And also, like you said, if you had questions and you want to do some sort of one on one with me to take your life, take it, go to that next level, I do offer the one on one private sessions.
Thank you for sharing this wonderful stuff with us. It means a whole lot. Thank you.
So much, Elijah. You have been an excellent host.